All right, let's dive into something pretty interesting today. We're going to help you prep for a vehicle maintenance supervisor interview, kind of like your own personal coaching session, walking through how to handle those tough questions.
Yeah, and we're going to use some cool resources here. We got RoleCatcher's career guides, interview guides, even their AI tools. It's like having an extra edge.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's break it down. What exactly does a vehicle maintenance supervisor do?
Oh, you're not just fixing cars. You're managing the whole service station, right? The mechanics, the schedules, inventory, repairs, you name it. You're making sure it all runs smoothly, safely, and, follows the rules.
And it sounds like a fast-paced gig, right? I'm
Yeah.
seeing in these roll catcher guides, you need some serious vehicle maintenance and repair knowledge.
Absolutely. And don't forget communication skills. You're the bridge between everyone, customers, your team, suppliers, even the regulatory folks.
Got it. Now, this roll catcher AI sounds like a game changer. Can you unpack that a little bit for us?
Think of it like this. You have a coach who analyzes the job description and tells you exactly what to say to stand out, to make your application shine. That's what RoleCatcher's AI does.
So it helps tailor my CV and resume to highlight the specific skills they want.
Exactly. It's like a secret decoder for job applications, making sure you speak their language. Plus, it gives you feedback on how you answer interview questions, so you can fine-tune everything and boost your confidence.
Okay, impressive. But let's get to the heart of it. What are some typical interview questions I should be ready for?
Well, RoleCatcher's interview guide has 9 sample questions. Let's start with a classic. Tell us about your experience with vehicle maintenance and repair.
Seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just listing off everything I've done.
Right. This is your chance to showcase the relevant experience. So, for example, if they're looking for someone who knows heavy-duty trucks, you want to highlight, your work on diesel engines or hydraulics. Don't just say, hey, I've worked on cars. Show them you've tackled the stuff they actually deal with.
So I need to tailor my answer to their specific needs, showing them I have the skills they're looking for.
Precisely. Now, let's say they follow up with, what's your experience with preventative maintenance programs?
Okay, getting more specific, they want to know if I'm proactive, not just reactive.
Exactly. Don't just say, yeah, I've done that. Talk about the software you've used, like Fleet Maintenance Pro. Mention how you've optimized those schedules, maybe even quantify the results. You could say something like, by implementing this program, we reduced unscheduled downtime by 15%.
Ooh, that's impressive. Okay, next question. How do you prioritize and manage those vehicle maintenance tasks and schedules?
This is all about your organizational skills. But imagine they ask, tell me about a time you had to adjust a maintenance schedule because of an emergency. How did you handle it?
All right, time to show I can think on my feet.
Yeah, walk them through your process. How did you figure out how urgent it was? Did you get your team involved? How did you communicate the changes? And remember to mention you thought about safety and cost effectiveness, even under pressure.
Makes sense. Let's tackle question 3. Can you give an example of a really challenging maintenance issue you faced and how you solved it?
The classic tell me about a time question. Choose a story that highlights your technical expertise and problem-solving skills. Be ready for follow-ups like, what resources did you use? Or what did you learn?
So they want to see if I can think critically and learn from my mistakes. I should mention things like using technical manuals, reaching out to experts, and then how I use that knowledge to prevent future problems.
You got it. Now let's dive into question 4. How do you ensure that all vehicles in your program meet the regulations and guidelines?
Safety and compliance, big part of the job.
Absolutely. Be ready to discuss specific regulations, things like EPA emission standards, safety inspections. Don't just say you know them. Explain how you stay updated, like attending conferences or reading industry newsletters.
And I bet they'll want to hear about my real-world experience.
Yeah.
Something like, have you ever had a situation where a vehicle wasn't compliant? How did you handle it?
Precisely. Be honest, but show that you're committed to doing things by the book. Explain how you fixed the situation, whether it was reporting it or working with the team to get it compliant. And, importantly, how you prevented similar issues.
Okay, question 5. How do you manage and motivate a team of mechanics and technicians? This is where my leadership skills come in.
Right. Describe your style. Collaborative, results-oriented, empowering workers. Give them concrete examples. And don't just talk about giving orders, talk about motivating them. Clear goals, incentives, professional development opportunities. Be ready for a curveball, like, tell me about a time you had to deal with a conflict between team members. How did you resolve it?
Conflict resolution. Always a fun one. So I should highlight staying calm, listening to everyone, finding a fair solution.
Exactly. And explain the steps you took to mediate, how you emphasized open communication, and bonus points if you can show how the team learned from the experience.
Got it. Question 6. How do you evaluate the performance of your maintenance program and make it better?
This is about analytical and strategic thinking. Be ready to talk about the metrics you use. Tracking costs, downtime, customer satisfaction, how you gather and analyze data, and then how you put those insights into action.
I bet they'll ask. Tell me about a time you identified an improvement for the program but faced resistance from your team. How did you handle it?
Right. This tests your influencing and persuading skills. Describe how you communicated the need for the change, addressed concerns, and got their support. Data is your friend here. Maybe you presented cost savings or safety benefits tied to the improvement.
Okay, on to question 7, all about safety. How do you make sure all the work is done safely and follows regulations? I feel like we're circling back here.
And for a good reason, they might ask. Tell me about a time you had to deal with a safety violation. How did you handle it?
Time to show my dedication to safety.
Exactly. Describe the situation, focusing on how you addressed it with the person involved. Did you provide extra training? Issue a warning? Emphasize that your actions were all about protecting everyone.
All right, question 8. How do you manage the budget for your maintenance program and control costs? Time to talk numbers.
Yeah, be ready to discuss your budgeting process. The software you use, how you track expenses, and how you compare them to the budget. They could ask, tell me about a time you had an unexpected budget shortfall. How did you deal with it?
So they want to know how I handle financial curveballs.
Exactly. Did you prioritize repairs, negotiate with suppliers, reallocate funds? Transparency and collaboration with your team are key here.
All right, last question. How do you stay up to date on industry trends and advancements in vehicle maintenance technology?
And a likely follow-up. What specific technologies or trends excite you the most, and why?
This is where I can geek out a little. Electric vehicles, autonomous driving, the latest diagnostic tools. I can talk about why these trends are cool and how they'll change the industry.
Show them your enthusiasm, that you're thinking ahead. Be specific about what you read, conferences you attend, or online courses you take to stay current.
Great advice.
Oh.
And of course, RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor my answers and delivery for each question, like having a coach right there.
Precisely. Now, before we get to part 2 of this deep dive, let's shift gears a bit. Let's use RoleCatcher's Career Guide. I want to highlight some key insights, about the bigger picture for this role.
Yeah, sounds good. What does the future hold for a vehicle maintenance supervisor?
Well, the employment outlook is pretty positive. The RoleCatcher Career Guide says there's going to be steady growth.
That's good to hear.
But there's a catch. Continuous learning is essential. New technologies and advancements are popping up all the time, like electric vehicles, autonomous driving systems, and advanced diagnostics. You gotta keep up.
So I can't just rely on what I already know?
Right. Be proactive. Read industry publications like Automotive Fleet magazine. Go to conferences, take some online courses, network with other professionals, whatever it takes to stay on top of things.
The guide even suggests making a portfolio of my projects and specialized skills, like a resume, but for my technical stuff.
Exactly. It's tangible proof of what you can do.
Yeah.
And speaking of proof, those certifications we talked about, ASE, EPA, Automotive Service Excellence, they can really set you apart. It shows commitment and gives you a competitive edge.
It's all about showing employers that I'm serious about this career.
Exactly. Now let's circle back to those interview questions. We covered the basics, but let's dig a little deeper into some potential follow-up questions. How to handle them strategically.
Sounds good. I'm ready to fine-tune my responses.
Okay. Remember that first question about your experience with vehicle maintenance and repair? Let's say they follow up with, describe a time you had to diagnose a complex electrical issue. What steps did you take?
Okay, so this is where I need to show off my diagnostic skills. I should probably mention using tools like multimeters, oscilloscopes, consulting wiring diagrams, and, systematically testing components.
Exactly. Walk them through your process, emphasizing how you pinpoint the root cause. And if you can quantify the results, even better. Like, by using this approach, I found and fixed the problem in 2 hours, minimizing downtime for the customer.
Got it. Now, what about question 2, prioritizing and managing tasks? What kind of curveballs could they throw at me?
Well, imagine they ask, tell me about a time you had to balance a rush repair for a VIP customer and a scheduled maintenance task. How did you decide which one to prioritize?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. It's all about weighing the urgency and the impact of each task, right?
Right. They're looking for strategic thinking and decision-making that benefits the whole business. Explain how you gathered info, assessed the risks of each option, and maybe even got your team involved in the decision.
And I should mention how I communicated the decision to everyone involved,
Yeah.
making sure we're all on the same page.
Exactly. Now, let's go back to question 3, the challenging maintenance issue. What if they ask, what resources or support did you use to help you solve the problem?
This is where I can show I'm not afraid to ask for help. I might mention things like technical service bulletins, reaching out to the manufacturer's support team, or even talking to colleagues who have faced similar issues.
Right, showing initiative and resourcefulness. Don't forget to mention what you learned and how you applied that knowledge to prevent similar issues.
Okay, question 4, compliance. What if they dig deeper and ask, have you ever had to implement a new safety protocol because of regulation changes? How did you make sure your team understood and followed the new procedures?
This tests your ability to adapt and lead effectively. Explain how you clearly communicated the new rules, maybe through toolbox talks or training sessions. Highlight any materials you created, like checklists or guides.
And of course, I would emphasize that I followed up regularly to check on compliance and give feedback and making sure everyone was on board.
Exactly. Now, for question 5, managing and motivating your team, they could ask, describe a time you had to give constructive feedback to a team member who wasn't meeting expectations. How did you approach that conversation?
This is where my ability to give tough feedback, but with empathy, comes in. I should mention focusing on specific behaviors, providing clear examples, and offering support and resources to help them improve.
Right. It's about fostering a culture of improvement. Highlight how you set expectations, provided regular feedback, and worked together to address performance issues.
All right, question 6, evaluating and improving the program, they might ask. Tell me about a time you had to make a tough decision about investing in new equipment or technology. How did you justify the cost?
This is about strategic thinking and making data-driven decisions. Explain how you researched options, analyzed the potential return on investment, considered factors like safety and efficiency, and then presented a strong case to justify the expense.
It's about showing that I can balance costs with the need to invest in the program's future.
Precisely. Now let's look at question 7, safety, they could ask. Tell me about a time you had to stop work because of a safety concern, even though it caused a delay. How did you handle that?
This shows my commitment to safety. I should explain that I clearly communicated why work stopped, emphasizing that safety is non-negotiable, and I could mention involving the team in finding a safe and efficient way to get back to work.
Right. Showing leadership and being decisive when it comes to safety. Now, for the final question about staying up to date, imagine they follow up with, describe a time you learned about a new technology or technique that you thought could benefit your team. How did you introduce it?
This is where I highlight my love for learning and sharing that knowledge. I could mention attending a webinar on a new diagnostic tool or reading an article about a more efficient repair technique, maybe taking a course on a new vehicle system.
Excellent. Explain how you shared this info with your team, perhaps through a meeting or a hands-on training session, and how you encourage them to embrace new technologies and techniques.
It's all about fostering innovation and continuous improvement within the team.
Exactly. Now, before we move to part 3, let's quickly go back to RoleCatcher's career guide. I want to mention a few things about career advancement opportunities for vehicle maintenance supervisors.
That sounds great. What kind of upward mobility is there?
So you're not, stuck in the garage forever. With experience and the right drive, you can move up to regional or even national management roles.
So I could oversee multiple service stations or maybe manage bigger maintenance operations.
Exactly. And if you're feeling entrepreneurial, you could even open your own shop, be your own boss.
Now, that's exciting. So this role really can lead to a rewarding career in the automotive industry.
Absolutely. But for now, let's get back to that interview. You've practiced those tough questions, you understand the role, and you've even seen the long-term possibilities.
I'm feeling much more prepared and confident.
Good. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you refine those answers, make your delivery top-notch. It's like having a secret weapon.
Okay, I'm ready to nail this interview.
One last thing before we wrap up. Think about a time you went above and beyond to solve a really tough vehicle maintenance problem. Maybe you stayed late to get a crucial piece of equipment running again, or you came up with a clever solution that saved time and money.
Yeah, that kind of story shows dedication, problem-solving skills, real passion for what you do.
Exactly. It's those personal stories that make you stand out. make you memorable.
This deep dive has been incredibly helpful. Thanks for walking me through it all.
My pleasure. Preparation is key, but remember to relax, be yourself, and let that passion come through. You got this.
And to all of you aspiring vehicle maintenance supervisors out there, good luck with your interviews. Remember, this career path has some exciting opportunities for growth and a lot of fulfillment.
And if you need a little extra support, check out RoleCatcher's AI tools that can really help you land that dream job.
That's all for this episode of The Deep Dive. We'll catch you next time with a new topic and some fresh insights.